While the world was living its usual peaceful life, a tower suddenly appeared on Earth. Not an ordinary one, it was referred to as either the Devil's Tower or the God's Tower, because this 999 floor-based tower attracted humans to have all their wishes fulfilled, if they managed to climb to the top of the tower. It was commanded by demons and caused many dangerous monsters to appear on Earth, so the government tried to block the people from approaching the tower, but easier said than done. The authorities of the tower punished those who stopped people from taking a chance to fulfill their desires. 9 people stood out the most, called the 9 Star, as they managed to earn magic and holy energy from the tower and reach the 600th floor, but what happened next wasn't teamwork to clear that floor, but a face-off of 8 people against the 1 Death Star, Cha Jin-hunk. He managed to become the greatest necromancer of his time, but he ended up facing the rest of the 8 stars he was traveling with, as if he was an unstable villain. The rest of the 9 Star declared him the villain and decided to defeat him. Even though Cha Jin-hunk was extremely powerful, he still couldn't stand a chance against the rest of the 9 Star. Hence, the greatest necromancer, who betrayed humanity after being driven mad for power, was defeated by the 9 Star, or so the news passed to the people. In reality, Jin-hyuk was the one helping the rest to pass the floors, and they were the power-hungry, selfish people, who couldn't stand the presence of someone who could climb the tower before them. The Necromancer, even though defeated, managed to cast a spell that would have his soul passed on to another body. And the spell worked successfully as Jin-hyuk woke up in the body of a young guy, who seemed to match his physique. Jin-hyuk reminisces about the time of his death and how the people recklessly betrayed him, leaving one question of whether his friend Choi Gun-hyuk, who was also part of the 9 Star, also betrayed him. Or was he unaware since he didn't participate with them in clearing the 600th floor? Jin-hyuk is shocked when he notices the date on his phone is 10 years from his time, since he feels like the events were moments ago. Ready to get his revenge, Jin-hyuk decides to first test his body, but he receives the shock of his life at noticing he no longer has the powers he had acquired in the tower. He realizes he's got to climb the tower again to acquire his powers, but first he hurriedly checks if his enemies reach the top floor or not. As he confirms that they've only reached the 800th floor yet and are taking their sweet time to travel, he considers an opportunity to climb the tower faster, get stronger, and get his revenge. Not wanting to waste time, Jin-hyuk decides to enter the tower right away, since even though his body lacks skills, he still has enough knowledge from his past life to regain all the powers he once had. As the gates of the tower open, Jin-hyuk feels a rush of adrenaline, as this counts as an official start to his journey of revenge. The journey begins with the tutorial stage, but Jin-hyuk scoffs at the absurdity of it, being called the tutorial since he went through it 15 years ago. He and many other people realize that among the first 10 floors, this stage is the most difficult, and no other stage puts such a level of difficulty in their path. This stage aims to reach the destination while a range of hidden traps lie in the path, and the injuries can only be healed at either the starting or the destination point. Jin-hyuk opens his status window and realizes that his skills are very low, and his body is that of mana type, with his ability being gluttony, which is different from his previous life, but this doesn't move Jin-hyuk as he smirks, ready to make the most of it during the tutorial. As he begins, magic arrows are shot at him, and they can only be seen the moment they are shot, which Jin-hyuk has been aware of. He's glad that his know-how of the place is still right, but that doesn't mean he can dodge all the arrows shot at him simultaneously. Jin-hyuk turns his direction back to the starting point as the arrows start hitting him and manages to reach it, so his damage is recovered since he knows he should check his endurance rather than mindlessly running forward. Gluttony is the power that when you devour a non-living thing, all of it becomes yours. So Jin-hyuk uses this on his blood, and as he tastes some from his wound, all the blood splattered around him when he was shot is absorbed by his body. This helps him in increasing his stats, so he decides to take a week in passing the stage and using this ability to improve his stats in the meantime. It ended up taking a month for him to reach the destination point. As he stands there, a window appears mentioning several gods and demons taking interest in his method. Jin-hyuk is annoyed and cruises at whom he calls sadists for keeping an eye on the players like stalkers and passing comments without their identities, revealed to make interesting players their disciples. But the one demon standing out the most has been the peak of all evil, Baal. Baal had been stalking Jin-hyuk in his previous life the whole journey to want him as his disciple, and it was he who taught Jin-hyuk the soul transmission method. Baal turns out to identify Jin-hyuk and greets him like an old comrade, while the rest of the gods and demons question the sense of familiarity that they both share. Jin-hyuk starts scolding Baal for showing this obvious interest in him, making the rest of the gods and demons be attentive to him as well. He ignores them all, not wanting to become a disciple, and focuses on his rewards. His abilities increased a great deal and even his mana increased, which happens rarely at this stage. Moreover, Jinhyuk acquired another trait than gluttony, this being an all-rounder, a talent that allows him to be good at everything he tries. Jinhyuk is even more excited at this special trait and thinks of getting the title of an all-master later, but his excitement turns to annoyance as Ball shows interest in his status window. Allowing Ball to follow him, Jinhyuk proceeds to the room of choice and training. He remembers how he didn't hesitate and chose to be a mage class and picked the appropriate weapon for it last time. But since he wants to test his all-rounder ability, he stalls the process of choosing a weapon and class, and destroying the floor to reach the first stage and picks up a bow, demanding a target to be generated. As he easily shoots them, he demands a stronger target that can even attack him. Ignoring the warning, he gets such a target and asks for even stronger until he gets the strongest ones with a ranged attack, and destroys them with his mage skills rather than the bow he picked before. Jinhyuk is amazed by how he could use all those weapons smoothly due to his all-rounder trait. Suddenly, a pop-up shows that he has an all-master class unlocked that allows him to use a weapon from each weapon category. But if he doesn't choose this as his class in this room, he won't be able to choose it again. Even though this is a beneficial class, he knows that he can't abandon the one that's his specialty, so he does something that surprises the management of the tower. He asks the system to choose this as his subclass, but he forgot that it's locked until the 100th floor. So he asks to use his accomplishment points to unlock the subclass. Even though it's something a beginner shouldn't know of, the system tells him that he has 50 fewer points than the ones needed. So Jinhyuk decides to use the demon obsessed with him, and tells the system that Ball revealed his identity, and talked to him, which is an accomplishment in itself. While Ball asks for Jinhyuk's attention like a stupid high school girl, the system unlocks a subclass so Jinhyuk can proceed after destroying the room of choice and training. On the first floor, some random people try to find the monsters in front of them, when suddenly Jinhyuk appears and rushes excitedly to kill one of the kobolds, the monsters of the first floor. Jinhyuk faces the rest of the kobolds with a crazy evil look, wondering what he'd get if he devoured them all. The random strangers are amused that even if he's a mage, Jinhyuk killed the kobold with his kick. The other stranger tries to offer to work together and combine powers to pass the floors, but of course, Jinhyuk doesn't have a good pass with partnership, so he tells them to scram off. He then turns to the other two kobolds and kills them with no effort whatsoever. After killing 3 kobolds, the window appeared welcoming him to the first floor and giving him the quest to kill 10 kobolds, which is an easy job for him. Jinhyuk decides to earn the title of Slayer, which is earned when someone kills the same type of monster 1,000 times, something he did back then too. Jinhyuk uses his gluttony to devour the kobold so he gets the strength of the monster, its memories, as well as the ability to understand their language. While observing his stats, which have increased up to those of someone on the 10th floor, he suddenly gets a memory from the kobold that shows the kobold lord in his location. This is the perfect opportunity for Jinhyuk to earn the title of the Slayer, as he can kill the lord and he will find a whole farm of kobolds in that vicinity. Jinhyuk changes classes to Necromancer and awakens the dead kobolds and asks them to defeat any kobold they see. Even though Jinhyuk has gotten his Necromancer class, and even can change classes, he still knows that an interesting hidden class lies on the first floor, that he needs to obtain, so he searches for the location where it's hidden while killing any kobolds in the way, and creating a whole army of dead kobolds. Jinhyuk finds a basement in the stranded house on the first floor where the hidden class lies. A Necromancer is a mage that uses souls, but there lies a class with an even higher rank, the Spirit Master class. It lies with the first ever Spirit Master, Vulcan, in the class-changing coffin. As Jinhyuk slides open the coffin, Vulcan's skeleton rises from it in the air, intimating the question if Jinhyuk is his descendant. Vulcan appears in front of Jinhyuk, expecting him to be surprised by his fabulous entry, but Jinhyuk just grins at him, making him awkward about his whole dramatic entrance. Jinhyuk smiles, mentioning how a necromancer shouldn't be surprised upon seeing skeletons, and that he came after reading Vulcan's journal, which he read in his previous life, so he's past all the surprise part. Vulcan is impressed and shares his liking towards Jinhyuk, along with bad-mouthing the arrogant guy he met 10 years back, which was also Jinhyuk. Jinhyuk is amused and grins evilly while thinking of how in the past he came back to the first floor after reading the journal to achieve this class, but failed to make Vulcan one of his summons, but he is very much determined to do so this time. Jinhyuk requests to get his class changed quickly, but Vulcan tells him he needs to go to the 10th floor first since class changing to Necromancer is needed for becoming a Spirit Master. Jinhyuk cuts him off, showing that he's already a Necromancer. Vulcan is in awe at how Jinhyuk managed to do this on his own on the first floor, and calls him better than the punk from 10 years ago. Jinhyuk is low-key pissed at the casual insults being thrown at his old self, but hides them to get his work done. Jinhyuk finally gets the talkative skeleton to start his class-changing process. In the meantime, he thinks about the history of Vulcan. Vulcan used to be the strongest necromancer of his time, the climber who ruled the tower before it appeared on Earth, but he was always looking for even stronger powers. To him, the summons made of bones and skins weren't enough, so he aimed for wanting, even more, stronger summons till he finally found the answer. He discovered that summoning the souls of the dead will be the strongest summon ever, and after years of hard work, he managed to attain that power, which he named as a class called Spirit Master. But by this achievement, his old body reached its limit, but to prevent this class from extinction, he used necromancy on himself, hoping that someday his descendant would reclaim his honor and climb the tower successfully. After successfully giving him the ability to summon souls, he tells Jinhuk to use the Soul Crucible to capture the souls so he can later summon them. Jinhuk expresses his gratitude and thinks how with the Soul Crucible Vulcan granted him, he'd honor him to become the first capture. Vulcan calls him his third descendant and wishes him to climb the tower and spread his name. But Jinhuk pulls a reverse at him and tells him to do so himself, confusing the skeleton, until it dawns upon him and he starts shouting at Jinhuk for going against the promise of the journal, not knowing Jinhuk came prepared this time to not fail at capturing Vulcan's soul. Vulcan tries to dodge his soul capture but is not able to do so all he does is point the bones of his middle finger at Jinhuk since his descendant taught him it's offensive on Earth. As Vulcan wishes to see him in hell, he realizes that Jinhuk captured him in a prison, made of low-class magic. Yet which Vulcan says he can break easily, but Jinhuk shares that he also laid down lots of cobalt mana stones, which would be triggered, and create another prison. So even though Vulcan can destroy them, he won't be able to do that before Jinhuk captures his soul. Vulcan is confused at how a first-floor player can be this skilled, when Jinhuk mentions how he failed in his previous life, but this time he won't be making any mistakes and mocks Vulcan, if that still makes him his second descendant, leaving Vulcan too stunned at the plot twist he witnessed. But the reaction didn't last long as Jinhuk finally captures his soul in the Soul Crucible, and consoles the poor soul that he would be getting everything he wished for now that he is with Jinhuk. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and press that bell icon to know about our latest videos.